Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good and your family members are fine. So I'm your botany educator Miss Pooja Sharma and I will teach you today the basic chapter of grade 11th, or you can say the first chapter of grade 11th, which is the cell basic unit of life. So in this chapter we'll talk about how the organisms are made up of. Okay, and what is the basic unit of life? Okay, so you can see on the board that the name of the chapter is cell, the basic unit of life. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so we'll start now. So in this chapter, firstly let's discuss what we'll talk about. Okay, so first we'll talk about what is cell, what is cell. Second, we'll talk about the discovery of cell. Discovery of cell. And third, we'll talk about the types of organisms. The types of organisms. Okay, okay. If we have the extra time, then we'll also talk about the cell theory. Cell theory. So first, we'll talk about the basic thing, means you can say what is cell. About the cell we'll talk about. So a student, as you know, there is a line which is written in your NCERT that cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of life. So let me write here on the board that the cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of life. So, do you know the meaning of this line? The cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of life. If you don't know, then don't worry, I'm here to tell you. So, students, if we talk about this line, so firstly, we'll talk about what is the meaning of fundamental. So, the fundamental means the base. Fundamental means the base. And if you talk about structural, means the structure. It means the structure made up of cell. It means the structure made up of cell. First, we'll talk about only this line. Which line? Only this line, that cell is the fundamental structural unit of life. We'll talk about the function after some time. First, we'll discuss the structure. Why we are calling cell the structural unit of life. Okay, so let's understand with an example that, acha, bacho, you have heard about the break. You have heard about the break. Okay, this is break. This is break. Okay, as you know that one break and many breaks. When you will put one break and over there, when you will put the other break, so you will make a house. Okay, so you can say in simple language, we can say that many bricks together make a house. Many bricks together makes a house. Okay, so like this, I'm just trying to make you understand why we are calling the cell structural unit of life. So these are, suppose these are many bricks and together they are making a house. They are making the house. Okay. So in the same way, students, for example, suppose this is a cell. This is a cell. So, many cells together make an organism. Many cells together make an organisms, bachcho. Okay? Did you get? So, again, let's understand. For example, you know the brick, that the house is made up of brick. So, in the same way, cell makes an organism. It means you can say that our structure, our body is made up of cell. Ab you will say only, you will ask many, ma'am, that only single cell. No, bachcho. No, students. Many cells together. Many cells together make the structure of an organisms. So our structure is made up of cell. That is why we are calling the cell the structural unit of life, and fundamental means base. It means if cell is not there, a structure will not made up of. So we like no one can make the structure of an organism without the cell. Are you getting my point? If cell is not there, it means that person or that thing will not be alive. Okay, so because the base of our structure, the unit of our structure is known as cell. Okay, in the same way, without brick, a house cannot be made. In the same way, without cell, a body cannot be made. The structure of body cannot be made. I hope you have understand this. Okay, one more example we can take that. You know that this is a cell. This is a cell, single cell you can say. And the many cells together make tissues. And many tissues together make an organ. Many tissues together make an organ, and many organs together make organ system, and this organ system in the last made an organism. Okay, so this is cellular organization. This is cellular organization, students. I hope you are getting my words. So here you can say that this is cell, and when many cells come together, they make tissues, and when many tissues come together, they make organ. Okay, when many organs come together, for example, heart, kidney, lungs, these all are organs. When they make a system, when they are connecting with each other, when they make a system, and finally they make organ system. And in this organ system, many organs are involved. For example, your lungs, your heart, your kidney, so on. Okay, and when an organ system is created inside the body, it will make an organisms. It will make an organism, students. So here you can see that this organism, you can see that this organism, if we see that what is the basic unit, so you can see here that this organism ultimately made up of cell. So that is why in the starting I told you that the basic unit, or you can say the basic structural unit of life is cell. So this is, you can see how we are made up of cell. Okay, a single cell make this is single cell, and many cells come together make tissues, after that organ, and many organs come together to make organ system, and finally they will create an organism. I hope this is clear that how our structure is made up of cell. Okay, so students, if we talk about students, see, now so we have talked about this. The cell is the fundamental structural unit of life. But now we'll talk about the cell is the fundamental functional unit of life. So this is the second word you can see. Now we'll understand why we are calling the cell is the functional unit of life. So that sentence we'll write here. Cell is the functional unit of life. Okay, so we have divided the definition of the cell into two parts. First of all, the cell is the fundamental structural unit of life, and the second part is this, that the cell is the functional unit of life. Now we'll understand that why we are calling cell the functional unit of life. For example, students, see, for example, this is a cell. Wait a minute. Okay, for example, students, this is a cell. This is a cell and this is the nucleus of the cell. Okay, students, you know that all the functions which are necessary to keep the cell in the living state takes place inside the cell in the cytoplasm. Do you know that? If you don't know that, I am telling you that all the metabolic activities, you can say that all the metabolic reactions, or you can say activities, take place, or you can say occur inside the cell, which keep the cell in the living state. In the living state. So, did you get, bachcho? What is the meaning of this sentence? You know that all the reactions which keep the cell in the living state occur inside the cell. It means all the functions necessary for the living state occur inside the cell. It means we are saying, that is why we say that the cell is the functional unit of life, because all the functions are occurring inside the cell which keep the cell into the living state. Am I clear? So this is how we understand that why the cell is called the structural unit of life and why it is also called the functional unit of life. So till now we are done with the basic definition of the cell. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. So this is our first slide. So where we wrote the definition of the cell. So this is how we just tried. I tried to make you understand what is the cell and why it is called the structural unit of life. And if we talk about why it is called the function, so this is the cellular organization. And the second statement we talked about why the cell is the functional unit of life. So students, we can say that anything less than a cell, anything less than a cell does not show independent existence. Independent existence. Do you know what is the meaning of this line? Do you know what is the meaning of this line? No, don't worry. Your Pooja ma'am is there to make you understand. Don't worry, students. So, the meaning of this line is that if something is not made up of cell, for example, this is a table, or you can say anything. This is a table. This is a table. And this is not made up of cell. Not made up of cell. Okay, if this is a table and this is not made up of cell, this is cell. And this is not made up of cells. So, can we call the table living? Can we call the table living thing? No, students. Why we can't call the table living? Because the structure of the table is not made up of cell. If something wants to be in the living state, it should have the basic unit, means it should have the cellular structure, cellular organization. Because the cellular organization is the defining property of the living organisms. Okay, for example, you can see this board, you can see this smart board, and this smart board is not made up of cells. It means this is not living, this is non-living things. Are you getting my words? We humans are living because we are made up of cell. If we does not have cells, we will not be called living things. We will not come in the category of living. Why we are calling living ourselves? Because we are made up of cell. That is why the main cell is the important thing in the living structure. Are you getting what I'm trying to make you understand, students? You know, right? So then you can see near your surroundings that all the non-living things, or like you can see the room walls, floor, chair, table, TV, television, bed, these all are non-livings. Why these are all non-livings? Because they don't have cells. They are not made up of cells. Right? That is why we are calling all those things non-living things. Okay? So that is why we say that cell is the important structure. Cell is the important structure. Important structure, student. Okay, so let's understand with the help of another example, students. So I hope you will understand. I will try my best to make you understand. See, students, see, have you heard about the virus? Let's take the example of virus. Have you heard about this virus? Yes, this is a big monster. This thing killed millions of people in the world during the COVID time. How we can forget this structure? How we can forget this structure? We can't forget, right? So, what do you think? This is living? This is living or non-living? A few students will say, ma'am, this is living because it killed many people during the COVID time. And few will say, no, ma'am, this is not living. So don't worry if you're confused with this virus word, I'll tell you. Don't worry, Pooja ma'am is there, I will tell you that this is a acellular structure. Acellular structure. Now you will say, ma'am, what is this acellular structure? Students, acellular structure means not made up of cells. Not made up of cell. Not made up of cell. Right. Now students, as we know that the virus is not made up of cells. So, will we call virus living? Because it does not contain cell. It does not made up of cell. So, you will say that, ma'am, in the last slide, you said that if something does not have cellular structure, that thing will not be called living. Yes, students, you are correct. I said this line. That is why I will say that this is non-living, because virus is not made up of cell. This is non-cellular structure, or you can say acellular structure. Acellular means does not made up of cell. So now you will ask, ma'am, if virus is not living, then how did the virus kill many people during the COVID time? Let me explain you. So let's understand this concept. Now let me write the name of this monster on this board. Okay, so this is a monster which is virus. Okay, students. Now just understand that. Okay, so this is acellular. This is acellular structure. Do you know, students, it does not have, it does not have any metabolic machinery. Metabolic machinery, because it is not made up of cell. And did you remember that during the COVID time, all doctors was saying that before having the food, please wash your hands properly. Before having the food, wash your hands properly. Do you know why they were saying this sentence during that time? Because if virus is present on your hand, on the palm of your hand, if virus is present on the palm, it cannot do anything. It cannot cause disease. It cannot make you ill. Do you know why? Because students, we can say that outside the body, because outside the body, outside the body, it is non-living, or you can say, or in the form of crystal. It's just like a crystal. It's just like a crystal when it is outside the body. Outside the body, it means the surface of the body. On the hands, on the palms, on the like, on the head, on the face. Okay, so if it is on the surface of the body, it cannot make you ill because it is outside the body, and outside the body, it's just a crystal. It's just a crystal. Okay, but when it when it enters inside the body, when it enters inside the body, what it will do? It will use the metabolic machinery. It will use the metabolic machinery of the host and convert it into living state. So did you see? Did you see how it is just playing the dual role, living and non-living thing? This is just playing the hide and seek with the host. We are the host for the virus. When it is on the surface of the body, it is in the crystal form. Just in the crystal form, it is non-living. But when it goes inside our body, okay, with the help of any medium, with the help of food or water or with the something else, if it enters inside the body, so what it does, it started using our metabolic reaction, the metabolic reactions of the host body, it means our body, and it will be activated, or you can say it will be converted into the living state because it got the cellular organization. And in the starting, I told you that to keep in the living state or to be in the living state, cell is important. So after entering inside the body, it got the cellular organization. It got the metabolic machinery of the cell. When it got the metabolic machinery of the cell, it started using that machinery. It starts the using our metabolic machinery, or you can say it hijacks the metabolic machinery of the host, and after that it is converted into the living state. So we say that virus is living when it enters into the host body, and it is non-living when it is present outside the host body. So to become living, virus needs a body, or you can say virus needs a cellular structure. If it will not, if it does not get the cellular structure, it cannot convert it in the living state. Are you getting my points? So that is why I said that the cellular organization is the defining property of the living organization. If something is made up of cell, it means that is living. If something is not made up of cells, it means that is non-living, because all the reactions are occurring inside the cell, which help the cell to keep in the living state. And in the beginning I told you that structure is made up of cell. I hope you understand now that why virus is non-living, and in which condition it is non-living, and how virus is called living, and in which condition it is called living. So that is why we say that, what we say that virus is, we say that virus is virus is link virus is link between the living and non-living thing. Okay, so virus is called the link between the living and non-living things. So now I think you got the concept how virus killed many millions of people during the COVID time. Now you got that concept, because few people were having the food without washing their hands, and they didn't wash their hands properly, and they ate the food, and with the help of food virus entered in their body, and they started causing the disease. Okay, so this is all about the introduction, or you can say the basic definition of the cell. So why we call the cell the fundamental structural and functional unit of life. So till now we have understand this. So our next concept is the types of organisms. So our next concept is the types of organism. Types of organisms. So do you know on which basis we will divide the organism into two parts, or you can say into parts? So let's understand. Organisms are divided into two parts. Organisms are divided into two parts on the basis of the number of cells. On the basis of the number of cells. So first is unicellular organisms. First is unicellular organisms, and the second is multicellular organisms. And what is the base of this division? And the base of the division is on the basis of the number of cells. That how many cells are present in the organisms. Okay, or you can say the how many types of cells are present in the organisms. So on that basis, the organisms are divided into two parts. First is or cellular unicellular organisms and second is multicellular organisms. So let's understand what is unicellular organisms. So unicellular organisms are those organisms which are made up of single cell, which are made up of single cell. Now you will ask the examples. So the examples are amoeba, bacteria, mycoplasma, and etc. and many more. So if we talk about the multicellular organisms, so you know that what is the mean of multi? What is the mean of multi? Multi means many. And here you know the means of uni. Uni means single. Okay. So now let's understand multicellular. And cellular means the cell. There also the cellular means cell. So multicellular means the organisms which are made up of many cells. The organisms which are made up of many cells are called multicellular organisms. If we talk about the examples, so we humans are multicellular organisms, plants are multicellular organisms, okay, animals are multicellular organisms, and fungus is also a multicellular organisms and many more. So this is about the unicellular organisms and the multicellular organisms. Now, one thing about the unicellular organisms, what will they capable, will they capable of independent existence? The question is, will unicellular organisms show independent existence? What do you say, students? The answer is yes or no? So, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Why the answer is yes? Because they have cell. It does not care they are made up of single cell or multi-cell. It does not care. The main thing is that they have cell. They have cell. They are made up of cell. And to be living and to be in the living state, cell is important. As I told you. So they have cell, na? They have cell. And a single cell is enough. And a single cell is enough to perform all the necessary functions which keep an organism into the living state. So they have that cell. They have that single cell, and this single cell will perform all necessary, will perform all the necessary functions which keep the organism into the living state. That is why we say that a line is written there in the NCERT that unicellular organisms show independent existence. They don't need others for the existence. No, they are capable. They are enough capable to independent existence. So this is all about the types of organisms. Okay, do you know what is the meaning of multi? Multi means many types of cell. So for example, let's take the example of humans. For example, many types of cells we have. For example, we have cardiac cells, we have kidney cells, nephrons, we have like nervous system cells like neurons, we have neurons, nephrons, cardiac cells, and many more. So many different types of cells we have. So that is why we are also called the complex organisms. We are, because we are very complex, we are made up of many different types of cells which performs different functions. And if we talk about unicellular organisms, they are made up of only single type of cells, single cells. So that is why they are simple organisms. They are not complex. But they don't need anything. They don't need anyone. They are enough capable. They are enough capable for the independent existence. Okay, they are existing independently. They don't need others. Okay, so it's all about the types of organisms. So let's take a quick revision till now what we have talked about today. So in the beginning we have just talked about what is cell. What is cell? So we talked about the basic definition of the cell, which is written in your NCERT, that the cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of life. And why we are calling the structural unit? Because our structure is made up of cell. Okay. And why we are calling the cell functional unit? Because all the necessary functions which keep the cell in the living state occur inside the cell. It means all the metabolic reactions are taking place inside the cell. Okay, that is why. Okay, that is why we are calling the cell the functional unit of life. Okay, after that we talked about if something is not made up of cell, will they show independent existence? Okay, so no. Okay, if something is not made up of cell, it means that is not living, that is non-living. And many examples I told you. Okay, and next we talked about the virus. We took an example of virus. Why we call virus living state, and when we call the virus living, and when we call the virus non-living. So both the conditions I told you about the virus. And after that we talked about the types of organisms, that on the basis of the number of cells, how many cells are present in the organisms are divided into two parts. First is unicellular organisms and second is multicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms are made up of single cell, that is why they are called as unicellular organisms, and the examples are amoeba, bacteria, mycoplasma, etc. Okay, and multicellular organisms are made up of many cells, that is why they are called multicellular organisms, and the examples are humans, plants, animals, and fungus. So for today it's enough. For today it's enough. In the next lecture we'll talk about the discovery of the cell. Who discovered the cell and how the cell is discovered. Okay, so it's enough for today. So we'll meet in the next class. Till then, just revise all the concept which your Pooja ma'am has taught you today. If you will not revise, it means you will forgot all the concept. Then you will not be able to clear the NEET exams. My dear students, if you want to clear the NEET exam in the first attempt, just work hard, revise all the topics on the regular basis which are taught in the class. Okay, so bye bye, take care of yourself, take care of your family. Okay, we'll see you in the next class. Bye bye, take care.